Roll Tide, everybody. Alabama hits the jackpot out in Vegas with an 85-80 victory over the Houston Cougars. Bama goes to 5-1. They drop Houston to a tally of 3-2 on the year. Mark Sears had a big game, but there were a ton of contributions all around the roster, and Bama able to hold on in the second half, take it to overtime, and put the dagger in the Cougs. Let's break it all down. It's Catfish Courtside. Bama basketball on a little bit of a streak now. Roll Tide, Alabama moves to 5-1 on the year. Crimson Tide grabs a top 10 victory in the first night of the Vegas Players era, where Alabama, again, outlasting Houston and holding on. Second half got a little wobbly. Alabama had a 8-point lead at one point in that second half. Houston went on a 10-0 run where Alabama had a 4-minute field goal drought. Crimson Tide survived down the stretch, forced the extra 5 minutes, and Alabama grabs the victory by outscoring Houston 7-2 in the overtime frame. So Bama getting it done. Let's talk about that first. Like, when I was watching the game, this is what I was worried about, was Alabama sitting there and having a second half lead. They were up 8 at one point, I believe was their largest margin. And it eerily felt similar to the Purdue game in Mackey Arena, because Alabama felt to be in control for a moment. And then it just went silent. Houston went on a spurt. They scored in 5 straight possessions, had a few threes, had some and ones, went on a 10-0 run. And you started to feel like Alabama was running out of juice. They were running out of gas down the stretch. And you thought, man, is this Alabama team going to be able to finish? Are they going to be a team that can figure out how to close out games? They can hang around, they can have bad stretches, but can they finish a game? And can they get a victory and hold on and finish a game? Well, Alabama did just that, because they got behind by 4 with under 2 minutes to go, and the Crimson Tide fought their way back into overtime. Some big buckets and points and drives and penetrations and free throw shooting from Mark Sears, but also it was all over the floor. Again, a lot of different contributors in last night's ball game, but Alabama, again, going to Vegas, beating Houston in the first round. Toughest matchup they're going to have by far. Doesn't mean you can sleepwalk through the others, but Bama getting by that first test. And what is it with Houston? Alabama just seems to own the Cougars. Won the last 3 in Tuscaloosa, went on the road, and then winning in this one. So Alabama has had very fortunate luck against Kelvin Sampson and Houston. Quality basketball team, obviously a tournament team, going to be a threat in the Big 12. So this one certainly gets Alabama physically ready for March. And boy, was it a physical game. A lot of fouls, a lot of banging around. Alabama was shooting 1-1. I think it was 5.5 minutes into the second half. Houston wasn't too far behind. Bama was in the double bonus for more than half of the second half. And the Crimson Tide took advantage of some free throw opportunities. We're going to go over that here in just a moment as well. Now, still some room for improvement. Alabama is still in a spot where they're not completely gelling. They are improving game by game. They haven't even hit their full stride yet, though. And that's what's so great, and also for opponents, so scary about this team. If you look at it, Youngblood's not even playing at the moment. Then you've got Stevenson, who is really struggling. Mark Sears has been good, but he hasn't been last year's SEC top player like he was. Bama still got other guys like Reitzel, who has done well, but hasn't had a blow-up game. Grant Nelson has played very well, but Bama still just hasn't had it to where it's everybody all at once. And so we've far from seen their best game, and that's what's so great, and again, so scary for opponents, is because this team is so far from their potential, and we're only in the back end of November, and Alabama is already taking it 2 teams, going on the road to Purdue, beating a quality team like Houston, and certainly going to have some more major tests coming up over the next 17 or 18 days. So let's look at tonight's contributions. I mean, talking about the physical play, Dioubate, he only played 3 minutes against Illinois last week in Birmingham. He comes in and is just an absolute wrecking force. It's amazing what he was able to do, blocking shots, getting rebounds. Then you've got Darian Reed. He comes in, hits a three-pointer, grabs some rebounds, has some blocks, had a shot blocked, got his own rebound, laid it back up. That was late in the game. Things like that where the hustle was there, the effort was there. They were scrappy. They were diving on the floor. They were playing hard defense. They were cutting off screens. They were trying to go up and above the screen and making a lot of contact. And it was one of those games, too, where the refs, it was so inconsistent, really, in both ways, honestly. Bodies on the floor, and it was one thing gets called, it feels ticky-tack. Another thing doesn't get called, and you can't believe it. So at the end of the day, I don't feel like it went one way or another with the Zebras, but Alabama, just the way they fought and played so hard in that blue-collar basketball and the hard hats and everything, it looked so good on the floor, and the way that everybody, not just 3 or 4 guys out of the roster of 10, but instead it was 8 guys out of the 10 who were all over the place and having an impact somehow in the game. Houston's run, we mentioned that in the open. The Cougars, credit to them, because they were in a spot where Alabama was 1 or 2 possessions away from stretching the lead out to double digits and really kind of sealing it for the victory. Houston got some threes. They got some looks. What was crazy was just some of the shots that were going in. Uzan, Cryer, both of those guys had tremendous nights, especially Cryer. He kind of carried the team down the stretch. Uzan just fouled out with about 7 or 8 minutes to go in the game, and that's what really took a toll on the Cougars' offense. But Cryer, he was doing everything almost on his own, the way he was creating, driving, hitting threes, getting people in the air, creating fouls, getting to the free throw line. All of that was playing in. The credit to Houston, the way they were able to withstand Alabama's lead, their run, and really make a comeback and make a game of it, because other teams may have folded at that point in the matchup. So Cougars, just again, another representation there, or an indication of what a quality team they are. These are the games, too, that will make you so tough to beat in March. Like when you go through these battles, one, you're getting used to the physicality. You don't get intimidated. When somebody comes in and starts banging around inside or pressing you or getting up right in your cylinder or your zone or whatever you want to call it, when you're trying to dribble penetrate, whatever the case may be, the physicality doesn't bother you. You almost welcome it. You embrace it. You enjoy it because you understand the competition. That's what these games do. So you don't get caught off guard. It makes you so tough to go down the stretch. You think about March, you have to win 6 games in a matter of 3 weeks. And if you're a top team, like if you're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, you're playing a 16 or a 15 or a 14. And then after that, you're going to go play an 8-9 winner. You're going to play a 7-10 winner. You're going to play a 6-11 winner. And in those games, they're games where you might get a scare for a minute in March, but if you're tested, you're probably going to win. I mean, a 1 seed and a 2 seed, your odds of getting to the Sweet 16 are obviously very high. And then it becomes 4 games over 2 weeks. But these are the games right here that put you into that kind of a test. And when you're playing them back to back, like Alabama's going to do tonight against Rutgers, or when you're playing them in a short window, think about it. Bama played Purdue on Friday the 15th. They played Illinois on Wednesday the 20th. They just played Houston on Tuesday the 26th. They're playing Rutgers on Wednesday the 27th. They're going to play another team on Saturday the 30th, and they're going to play North Carolina on the road on Wednesday, December, 4th, I believe. So that's the kind of test and stretch that you create with the scheduling in November, December, that is going to pay so many dividends when it comes March and April down the back end of the season. All right, let's take a look at the box score. And also, last thought on that, the way these games make you tough. Here's the other thing. Last year was a Final Four team. Obviously, expectations are high this year. Final Four is the expectation. National title is even an expectation at this point with the way the roster is built and how it's stacked. But last year, this team wasn't winning these games. They were 6-4. Remember that. They were 6-4 in December, but it helped them in March. And at 6-4, Bama wasn't playing great defense last year. There was a lot of concern about some different aspects of the game. And by the end of the year, it all came together, and Bama wasn't intimidated when they were playing in some of these big ball games. Now, Alabama is not only playing in these games, but they're winning these games. They're 5-1. They got a chance to be 6-1 against Rutgers tonight. They're favored. They're going to be favored on Saturday, most likely against whoever they play. They got a chance to leave Vegas 3-0 now. This was the toughest test. We said that. This was the toughest test. And now Bama gets by Houston. They pass. And now you got two games that you don't want to discredit or take anything away. But Rutgers and the opponent Saturday are not going to be as tough as the Houston game. So you can't let your guard down, but now Bama's set up to go 3-0, leave Vegas at a 7-1 mark, and you got a chance to go on the road and play a really good North Carolina team who's currently out in Maui. Let's take a look at the box score. So in last night's game, Mark Sears led the way, 24 points. So many of those came in the second half. A lot of them, in fact, half of them came from the free throw line where he was 12 of 14, 50% from threes, shooting at 666 shots at Coleman Coliseum last Wednesday night at 2:30 in the morning. I guess it was Thursday morning. Certainly paid off. 4 from 8, 4 for 8 from beyond the arc. Also contributing from the starters role, it was Reitzel with 12 points, Grant Nelson with 13 points. He had 10 rebounds. Nice double-double for Grant, who also had a big game against the Fighting Illini just a week ago. Coming off the bench, Dioubate, I didn't see yet who got the hard hat award, but I would think it's Mo. Just an incredible game. He had 10 points. He had 16 rebounds, 3 blocks, went 4 of 4 from the free throw line, and just the overall presence that he provided, the hustle, the effort, diving around, creating on the defensive end, almost hit what would that have been, about a 75-foot shot to win the game at the buzzer at the end of regulation, hit the front of the rim. But what a night for Dioubate. Also, Aiden Holloway, terrific job off the bench, had some key threes, went 2 for 4 from there. 14 points. He tied for the lead on assists with Mark Sears. They each had 3 in last night's contest. 6 blocks for the Crimson Tide. Most of those, half of them coming from Dioubate. Rebound-wise, it was Nelson and Dioubate. Like I mentioned, Dioubate Mo with 16 of those. Nelson also in double figures with 10. We'll do team stats here in just a moment. For the Cougars, they had 3 guys in double figures. LJ Cryer was amazing. 30 points last night for Houston. He wasn't as hot from 3-point range, just 2 of 8, but he was perfect at the line, a 10 of 10 night for him at the charity stripe. Uzan, as I mentioned, he fouled out. He only had 5 points. Sharp had 14 for the Cougs. Slow start at the free throw line. Finished perfect, 4 for his final 4, I believe that was. And then Juwan Roberts had 11 points for the Cougs as well. But Sharp and Uzan both fouled out, and that was a key piece for Alabama as they went into overtime. And Alabama's depth was able to outlast Houston and the depth off of their bench for the final stretch there in the second half and in overtime. Taking a look at the team stats here just for a quick moment. We'll get this to load some more. There we go. From the field, each team shot 37%. Alabama, a little bit better from beyond the arc. They had 30 attempts compared to Houston's 19, made 11 of them to the 6 of the Cougars. Alabama, that's 37% for them. Free throw line, Bama had the advantage, 8 extra attempts. They were 30 of 41 for the night. Houston, 26 of 33. Bama out-rebounded the Cougs 48-39. On the offensive glass, it was 20-16. Bama had more assists, had fewer steals, fewer blocks. Total turnovers, not a big gap there. It was 15-12. Bama had a few more on there. Houston, a few more fouls, 30-25. You can see there were a lot of fouls because it was such a physical game. And again, it was one of those, the refs Probably could have let a couple of them go, but certainly could have called more with how physical it was. It was just a brutal slugfest up and down the floor in last night's game. But Alabama 85-80 over the Houston Cougars. Again, chance to go 3-0 in Vegas. You took step one. You got Rutgers tonight, and then we'll see what happens with the seeding. Hopefully Alabama gets that 1 seed, and they're playing in the championship on Saturday night. San Diego State beat Creighton, and Oregon beat Texas A&M. So if Bama is able to remain unbeaten against Rutgers, then it would likely be San Diego State or Oregon that the Crimson Tide would play in the contest coming up Saturday night. Again, if they can make it, hopefully so, and Bama can leave the desert at 7-1. All right, let's thank our friends at Pearl River Resort. Let's throw them up on the screen. And everything you could want, and what a time to be at Pearl River with the golf and the Dancing Rabbit, with the Timeout Sports Lounge, with the buffets, with the rooms, with the casino, with all the different promotions they have going on. Go over, check them out. What a way to spend a holiday weekend, dropping some coin on some different games, hanging out, watching basketball, watching football. You got things going on everywhere. Pearl River Resort. Make sure you go check them out over in Pearl, Mississippi. Great spot. Great, just long weekend, long guys weekend, whatever you got. Go hang out with those guys. And on the mortgage side, thanks to everybody. I've had some of you reach out recently. Can't thank you enough. It means the world to me when you do that. We've been helping a lot of people. We actually just saved a deal that another lender botched yesterday, was able to help this lady and her husband get into a house over the next couple of weeks, just in time for the holidays. We're helping someone refinance. They're saving $538 a month. Helped someone else get over $20,000 in closing cost assistance from the seller, which gets their payment lower where they want it to be. All good things happening. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to other people who may be Debbie Downers about things right now. Markets are still moving. People are still taking advantage of opportunities with their equity, or with sellers giving up more on price, or with closing costs, whatever the case may be. Hit me up there, though, chadwickanderson.com, 256-509-8200, chad@chadwickanderson.com as well. Would love to chat, help you, whatever we could possibly do for you. All right, that'll do it for Catfish Courtside. We'll be back again, dropping content, probably not late tonight because it's going to be too late. It's a late tip, 9 p.m. Central, but we'll have some Thanksgiving Day content as we recap Bama and Rutgers and get you set for the big weekend. Bama Tailgate on Friday, and then, of course, the Iron Bowl coming up on Saturday afternoon at Bryant-Denny. All right, have a great one. Roll Tide. We'll talk to you tomorrow.